Ladies and gentlemen, now join me in welcoming on stage His Excellency Dr. Abdullah Nuaimi. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Really great to be here. This morning, we would actually be speaking about a topic that is important, particularly today. We've been talking during the last 2 decades about sustainability and how sustainable today in 20 years. Is sustainability synced in our minds, synced in our behavior or not? The 19 goals of sustainability have been made for a purpose. And this purpose is really to avoid global disasters. And one of these disasters is climate change. In various occasions, we speak about climate change and how climate can impact our earth, our life, and our future. By being sustainable, this goal must be addressed, is being able to control, provide an alternative to the existing fossil fuel. 200 years ago, this fossil fuel that we use today has actually globally warmed our climate and also impacted our earth. We speak about the impact of oceans today. Some cities will vanish. Some islands have vanished already as a result of climate change. Now, today I will actually be talking about, we've been working for the last 20 years on so many solutions. We've been addressing climate change, solutions. We've been looking into options of renewables. Renewables in the sense that we were looking into alternative to the existing oil and gas and coal. And all the time, we listen to a term that this earth is being impacted by carbon dioxide. Yes, it does. But carbon dioxide is one of many gases that are potent and that disastrous, and there are gases that are more disastrous than carbon dioxide. Now, do we know an alternative that is able to take us with all our development, with all our future, that could actually be sustainable and could be able to give us a new life? Is there any renewable that might be good enough for you, youth, young people? Is there any future for your kids? From what we see today, with the alternatives that we are looking at today, unfortunately, we don't have that light that gives us assurance that we are good enough for the future. Many options that we had. We talked about renewables, and we talked about solar energy. We spoke about the sun. We spoke about the water. And these sources are finite. That is true. However, the resources are not. Some resources that are not available, particularly those resources that we use today in our batteries. These resources are available, or 97, 98% of it. These rare minerals, rare earth minerals that are available only in China. That's why most of our batteries come from China. And it is also infinite. Also, solar energy is the resource, the source, the sun is finite. But the material, minerals that we use are unfortunately infinite. Recently, we speak about a new carrier, and we assume that this carrier is the future fuel, while it is a carrier, and that is the hydrogen. Now, most of you are students. You can Google property of hydrogen. It's probably the lightest, a gas that you cannot see. Even if you ignite it, you would not be able really to see the lightning of it. So it is light. Therefore, it would be very difficult to export it. And you cannot. Lately, we realized that we were working in the assumption that this hydrogen could actually pumped on the pipeline or the existing infrastructure that could carry it from one country to another. Unfortunately, it is not. This existing infrastructure cannot be useful for the future. They really need to be modified. Another problem with the new gas, and that is the hydrogen, that it produces nitrous dioxide. Nitrous oxide, as we know, as you know, is even more potent than carbon dioxide. Unfortunately, this gas is being increased 6% per year. So in 100 years from today, we should actually be looking at another gas. Not methane, not carbon dioxide, not even coal. We would actually be tackling other gases, and one of them is nitrous oxide. Many other gases that are produced by the industry today that would actually be more disastrous, not in the long term, even in the short term. Because 200 years ago, carbon dioxide was our friend. It is part of our climate. Today, people assume that it is potent and this is disastrous and we should fight it. A year ago, I was lecturing in one university in Egypt. I don't know if I said this story before. And one of the professors came to stage and asked me, Abdullah, when are we going to get rid of the carbon dioxide? We have doomed carbon dioxide to the extent that even our professors assume that we should fight it. Unfortunately, this is not a real story. Carbon dioxide is really potent, yes, but there are other gases that are more potent globally. Because what we test today, we only investigate the quantity of each gas on the atmosphere. We do not look into the global potential of it, the global warming potential of it. Some gases are 22,000 times as potent, as globally potent as carbon dioxide in 100 years. So we really need to look into the global potential, the global warming potential. When we find our carbon dioxide is yes potent today, but in 50 years, we have no options of carbon dioxide because the oil will not be with us. Gas will not be with us in 53 years. I'm afraid that we might go back to 200 years of a history and utilize coal. If we continue penetrating options that are not good for the future, and one of them is hydrogen. Hydrogen, maybe you know better, hydrogen does not exist in the environment. We have to manufacture it. And when we manufacture it, we produce another gas that is potent to the environment. And then we come up with a hydrogen that is carrier, and we want it to be green. Now, for this hydrogen to be green, it has to come from a green source. Now, if I have a green source, would I go and produce another carrier, or I use it directly? Today, 98% of our hydrogen are a color of the rainbow, but not green. Very little of green that is not even in the industry. It is still in a lab format. So it is very essential, really, to look into this scenario and look into how can we transfer into the future and center into human, center into us, not center into the business part of the energy, the easiness of the energy, the availability of the source, and the quick wins that we should have. We really need to be able to center our transition and make it human-centered. We have to be part of it. If we are not part of it, we might be in trouble in 100 years. Our kids will be in trouble. Our future would be in trouble. For this to be able to be centered toward human, one thing that we have to do is transferring real knowledge. Maybe most of us here know that there is future energy, and that we are very excited by having parks and solar parks, parks in hydro mills for wind. Yeah, it is available as a source. But this, you don't have the direct connection between your car and the sun. It has to go through some mechanics. And this mechanics would require materials or minerals. And these minerals have life. McKinsey, about 5 years ago, investigated the quantities of the 6 of the minerals that are used on the industry. And he gave a general result. If we continue with our plans by using the existing minerals, magnesium, manganese, other minerals, and for silicon, unfortunately, we will not be able to reach 2050 because this mineral would no longer be with us. This mineral will vanish. So it is very essential, really, I always suggest one of two things, because I'm looking into this countdown. I always suggest two things. We shouldn't be fiddling with our nature. This is the life. If we fiddle with it, we introduce new gases, new barriers, new disasters to the environment. Some of them, now we know when we wanted to change the air conditioning gases. We came up with, at that time, we were looking into the ozone, and we were considering the ozone as, and we came up with a gas that is potent, and this gas is actually increasing by 12% every decade. So we shouldn't be fiddling with these resources and trying to introduce a new without going back to places like this, like lab, universities, research. If we don't do that, innovation would actually be giving us more disaster ahead. If we just keep innovating and we build on innovation only, the real place for new resources is the laboratories and the research work that we should actually be conducting globally. For this new transition to be human-centered, we have to put our efforts together globally and look into possibilities of producing elements, new energy for the future. Importing future energy from abroad would probably be difficult because we've seen it today. The whole globe, all the industrial countries are looking into carbon dioxide. They know for a reason. But they know for sure that there are some other gases are more potent and more disastrous than those who are produced by gas and oil. You can get the story behind that because the time is rushing. So for energy transition to be able to be human-centered, we really need to educate our kids and give them real facts. Let them live in this reality. If they are not on the reality, like what we see today, unfortunately, many of us would be in a limbo. Very difficult. Very difficult times ahead of us. And when I say us, I say globally. When I say us, I say all researchers, lab, scientists, and those who are engaged on the transition. Most of the people speak about specifics because globally, we have actually pushed carbon dioxide as the only gas that is potent and that would be harming the universe. And I have some figures, just try to when we operate or look into the global warming potential. If we assume that carbon dioxide always in 100 years, they say is 1, because that is where they want it to be. CH4, the methane, is 25 times as much as carbon dioxide. in 100 years. Nitrous oxide, N2O, is about 300 times in global warming potential. That has that much of potential. Hydrofluorocarbons that we use in our buildings. It varies from 125 times to 14,800 times globally, warming our environment. The F6, the sulfur hexafluoride, is 23,000 times as much as carbon dioxide. Thank you very much.